Welcome to the deep dive. Look, today we're talking about something huge happening inside the Department of War. It's not just tinkering around the edges, they are performing a systemic demolition job. They're taking the old way they buy defense technology, the Defense Acquisition System, DAS, which everyone agrees is ancient, and they're, well, gutting it, tearing it out and replacing it wholesale with something called the Warfighting Acquisition System, or WAS. The Secretary of War has been very blunt. The department is on a war footing. So our mission today is to cut through the noise, understand how this radical shift actually works, and crucially, figure out what it means for companies, for the industrial base, for investment opportunities.
Yeah, and what jumps out right away is the focus. It's incredibly sharp. They've established a single organizing principle for literally everything going forward. Speed to capability delivery.
Yeah.
That's it. Acquisition isn't some back-office administrative task anymore. It's now formally designated as a warfighting function. If a process, any process, doesn't speed up delivery, it's on the chopping block, period.
Yeah.
#1. The problem and urgency in historical context.
Okay, so speed is the mantra. Let's unpack why they needed such drastic action. What were the big systemic failures of the old system, the DAS, that forced this kind of, well, revolution?
The department essentially diagnosed two main killers: fragmentation and compliance culture. First, you had fragmented accountability. Think about the old program executive offices, the PEOs. You had layers upon layers, but no single person truly had the authority, the clout, to just drive a program and deliver results urgently.
Right, when everyone's sort of responsible, nobody's actually accountable.
Exactly. Accountability just vanished into the bureaucracy.
And the second one, broken incentives. That feels like a classic government trap, rewarding process over actual outcomes.
It really was. The entire culture incentivized compliance. Did you check every box? Did you satisfy every single line item in every requirement document, no matter how long it took? That was valued more than actually getting the capability delivered on time.
So a perfect checklist trumped a working system in the field.
Pretty much. And the third major challenge hits right at our ability to actually build things at scale. The constrained industrial base. The DIB.
Ah, the consolidation problem.
Correct.
Yeah.
Decades of the government's own buying habits actively discouraged industry from investing in new capacity, from building up surge capabilities. I mean, look at the stark numbers. We had something like 51 major prime defense contractors back after the Cold War.
And now?
Now we're down to basically 5 giants. That level of consolidation is a serious national security vulnerability in itself.
So the sole goal now is speed. Get tech out faster than adversaries.
That's the imperative.
Yeah.
And it demands accepting more risk, pushing the whole industrial base to shift its mindset from just compliance to pure speed and execution.
Yeah.
#Tech2. The new command structure, structural reform. So to fix that fragmented accountability piece, they're installing a new kind of leader at the top of portfolios, the old PEOs. They're being transformed into portfolio acquisition executives, or PAEs.
Okay, PAE. Is that just a new name for the same job, or do these folks have real teeth? What makes them genuinely accountable this time?
Oh, they have teeth. The PAE is designated as the single accountable official for portfolio outcomes. Full stop. They get the power to direct programs, crucially, to move money around within their portfolio and to make quick decisions on system features without needing approval from 3 levels up.
And they're sticking around longer because the old churn was a problem.
Big problem.
Yeah.
So new personnel policies are extending PAE tenure and program manager tenure too to a 4-year minimum with options for 2-year extensions. The idea is to match their time in the job to actual delivery cycles.
Makes sense.
And critically, their incentive pay, their bonuses, tied directly to capability delivery time. How fast did you get it done?
That's a powerful motivator. But, structure is one thing. Getting the requirements right and fast has always been the other major hurdle. You mentioned eliminating old systems. How are they tackling that bureaucracy?
They went straight for the heart of it. The Joint Capabilities Integration and Development System, JCIDS, that infamous, incredibly complex, paper-heavy process for generating requirements.
Yep.
It's facing immediate disestablishment. Gone. Wiped out.
Wow. Just like that. Getting rid of JCID that's like removing the engine from the old requirements machine. What fills that void? How do needs get defined now?
They've stood up a new high-level governance body, the Requirements and Resourcing Alignment Board, the RRAB. Think of it as a fast-track council. It's co-chaired by the Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs and the Deputy Secretary of War. Their job is to meet annually, look at a ranked list of the military's biggest key operational problems, KOPs, and directly link those urgent needs to funding.
So it bypasses the old slow-motion document drills. Needs get identified, prioritized, and funded much faster.
That's the entire point. Cut out the middle layers of bureaucracy.
Okay, but we've seen promising tech get funded for prototypes and then just die before reaching production, the infamous valley of death. How does this new system prevent that?
Ah, yes. They've created a dedicated funding mechanism specifically for that problem. The Joint Acceleration Reserve, or JAR. Starting in fiscal year 2027, this will be a protected, fenced-off pot of money within the budget guidance. Its sole purpose is to bridge that valley of death. When the RRAB flags a priority KOP and a potential solution looks promising after some initial work, the JAR provides the rapid funding needed to push it over the line into production or fielding. It's money earmarked specifically for acceleration. Hashtag Tag3. Financial and regulatory revolution. Contractual reform.
All right, so we have new leaders, faster requirements, dedicated money. Now let's look outward at how the department deals with industry. How are they changing the contracts, the rules of engagement, especially to bring in new players? First up is this commercial first policy.
That's a big one. The guidance is explicit. Maximize the buying of product, services, components that are already available commercially. COTS, commercial, off the shelf. They're using what they call an enhanced presumption of commerciality. Basically, the default assumption should be, can we buy this commercially? If so, let's do it. It's a clear signal they want to broaden the supplier base beyond the big five primes.
But those commercial companies, especially tech firms, have historically run screaming from government contracts because of the FR, or the Federal Acquisition Regulation. It's notoriously slow and complex. How do they get around that?
Exactly. You can't attract commercial speed if you bog them down in the FRR. So the FRS leans heavily on flexible contracting tools designed specifically to bypass the FR's slowest parts. They're directing the widespread use of other transaction authorities, OTAs, particularly for rapid prototyping and, importantly, for follow-on production contracts. And they're pushing commercial solutions openings, CSOs, as the preferred method across the board. These are vehicles built for speed and flexibility, absolutely essential if you want non-traditional defense companies to play.
Makes sense. And another huge barrier for those non-traditional companies has always been the government's unique, some would say arcane, accounting rules. Are those changing too?
They are, and it's a significant shift. They're calling it common sense accounting. What it means practically is directing a transition away from the specialized, burdensome cost accounting standards, or CAS, towards the standard generally accepted accounting principles, GAAP, that businesses use every day.
So companies won't need a whole separate CAS-compliant accounting department just to do business with the DOW.
That's the goal. For a new entrant, dropping the CAS requirement dramatically lowers the administrative burden, removes a massive barrier right at the start.
Okay, but wait. If you move away from CS, which requires detailed cost tracking, and you also start loosening the rules around the Truth in Negotiations Act, TNA, which demands contractors provide detailed cost and pricing data, aren't you just inviting companies to price gouge? Where's the oversight to ensure fair pricing?
That's a fair question, and it highlights the core philosophy shift. They are accepting more risk up front for the sake of speed, but it's not a free-for-all. The policy is to pursue reductions and tailoring of TINA, using approaches sometimes called TINA light, but only in situations where there's adequate price competition.
Ah, so competition becomes the check.
Exactly. The thinking is, if you have multiple companies competing for the work, market forces will drive fair pricing. In those cases, the months-long process of submitting and auditing detailed cost data under PINA becomes redundant and just slows things down. They're betting that competition, not just compliance paperwork, is the better price controller in many cases. Hashtag Tag4, the technological foundation, mandates for speed.
These bureaucratic and financial shifts are massive. But underlying all of this are some core technological mandates that are just as revolutionary. Let's talk about replacing physical stuff with digital models, digital engineering.
Right. This is absolutely foundational to achieving the speed they need. They are mandating the scaled adoption of model-based systems engineering, MBSE or digital engineering, across all major programs. Think of these as sophisticated physics-based digital twins of systems. These virtual models are intended to replace a lot of the old, time-consuming processes.
Like the analysis of alternatives, the AoAs, those huge studies.
Exactly. AoAs, extensive physical prototyping, and testing the idea is to do much more of that work in virtual and constructive environments before bending metal.
The power there seems enormous. Instead of building something, testing it, finding flaws, going back for months or years of rework, you can run thousands of virtual tests and design iterations in days or weeks.
Precisely. It drastically reduces schedule risk. You catch design flaws much earlier digitally. You limit the need for expensive physical rework late in the game. It's about front-loading the discovery process using models. And underpinning this whole digital environment increasingly is artificial intelligence.
Okay, how does AI fit into this new acquisition picture specifically for the warfighting mission?
Well, there are administrative uses, using AI-enabled tools to streamline planning, digitize processes, make purchasing faster. That helps reduce the burden. But more strategically, for the warfighter, the DoW intends to use AI much more aggressively for things like kill chain analysis. Meaning using AI to rapidly model our current fighting systems against adversary capabilities, identify the most critical vulnerabilities or gaps in our kill chains, and then quickly evaluate the trade-offs between different solutions to close those gaps. It helps prioritize where to invest for the biggest impact. It's about buying integrated effects, not just piece parts.
And linking all these new systems and software components together, making sure they can actually communicate and be upgraded easily, that requires open standards, right? Is that mandated too?
Absolutely essential. And yes, it's mandated. Full implementation of Modular Open Systems Architecture, or MOSO, is now required in all acquisition strategies. This means using common open standards for interfaces, software, and data. It also means the government needs to be much smarter about asserting its intellectual property rights for key interfaces.
The goal being to avoid vendor lock.
Exactly. No more being trapped with a single supplier for the entire life of a system. MOSA is designed to ensure you can have continuous competition, easily plug in new technologies from different vendors, and sustain systems more cost-effectively over time. Hashtag Tech55. The investment thesis, sectors and mandates.
Wow. Okay, we've walked through just a staggering amount of change. Gutting old processes, bypassing regulations, mandating digital transformation, new leadership, new money. This really isn't just reform, it feels like a total institutional overhaul. So, the billion-dollar question. What does this earthquake mean for industry, for the capital markets? Where should we expect to see the strongest tailwinds for investment based on these specific actions?
Well, the entire WAS framework inherently favors companies that can deliver three things: speed, deep digital integration, and the ability to scale production quickly. Based on the specific mandates we've discussed, three broad sectors really stand out. First, flowing directly from those mandates on AI, MBS digital engineering, and AMOSA, is software and digital technology.
So you're saying the DoW is fundamentally shifting what it buys, not just weapons, but the digital backbone.
Exactly. They are now explicitly in a market to buy the plumbing, the underlying data infrastructure, the advanced modeling and simulation tools, the secure cloud connectivity, the AI algorithms needed to run this new, faster, digitally driven system. This opens up huge opportunities for firms specializing in enterprise software, simulation, data integration, AML, and secure networking.
Okay, sector one, digital infrastructure. What's the second area?
The second sector targets that third systemic failure we talked about earlier, the constrained industrial base. This is mid-tier manufacturing and the supply chain. This is driven primarily by the production mandates. They're establishing a dedicated wartime production unit, or WPU, with the specific mission to surge U.S. manufacturing capacity and break critical production bottlenecks.
And how do they plan to do that differently?
The key policy change here is the mandate to go direct to supplier. The DoW wants to bypass the prime contractors in certain cases and negotiate investments and contracts directly with the companies that make critical subcomponents, things like solid rocket motors, advanced sensors, specialized microelectronics, fuses, critical chemicals.
Why go direct?
Two reasons. Stabilize the supply chain further down, right down to raw materials and critical minerals if needed, and avoid the pass-through costs and overhead typically added when going through a prime. It's about securing the foundational elements of production.
Makes sense. And the third big beneficiary group?
This is the group the old system often pushed away: non-traditional defense companies and commercial firms. These are almost the poster children for the new WAS philosophy.
Because the new rules favor them.
Precisely. They are the direct beneficiaries of the commercial-first policy and the heavy reliance on OTAs and CSOs for contracting. These tools allow them to largely bypass the legacy compliance burdens the old T&A rules, the CA's accounting that often kept them out. They can leverage their existing commercial tech, their private capital, and their inherent speed to get prototypes developed and scaled into production much faster than was possible under the old FAR-dominated system. Hashtag Tech6. Case study conclusion. The drone market.
Okay, this is a lot of theory. Let's try to ground it in a real-world example. The drone market, unmanned aerial systems, UAS, seems like a perfect case study for these new dynamics, doesn't it? It aligns directly with that core WAS goal. rapidly generating new kill chains, often using commercial or modified commercial tech, potentially within that ambitious 24-month window.
It's an excellent example. And when you look at the drone landscape through the lens of the WAS, you see, broadly speaking, two types of companies benefiting, perhaps in different ways. First, you have what we might call the established capacity players. Think of companies like AeroVironment. They benefit because they have existing, proven drone systems, like their Switchblade loitering munitions, that meet an immediate DOW need right now and can be produced at high volume. For them, the WAS translates into potentially large, stable, high-volume production contracts for platforms that are already mature. They represent reliable, scalable production capacity. Okay, so established players fill the immediate volume need. Then you have the other side, the disruptors. It's exactly. The disruptive technology, AI-first players. These are often the non-traditional companies we just talked about. A prime example here would be Anduril Industries. They thrive under the WAS ethos because their whole approach is built around rapid software iteration, AI integration like their Lattice command and control software, and fast, risk-tolerant prototyping using those flexible non-FAR contracts like OTAs. Their competitive edge is their speed and their software-defined approach, which WAS now explicitly values.
And it's not just defense-focused startups, right? Even more commercially oriented companies could fit.
Absolutely. Take a company like Ondos Autonomous Systems, working on commercial drone infrastructure and autonomous systems. Their commercial focus aligns perfectly with the commercial-first policy. Their path into defense might run through experimentation efforts under the new Mission Engineering and Integration Activity, the MEIA, which replaces those old AoAs. It's less about writing a perfect proposal against a 100-page requirement document now, and more about showing up with a working commercial or prototype system that can solve an operational problem quickly in a demonstration or experiment. Field validation trumps paperwork.
It really underscores the fundamental shift, doesn't it? The Warfighting Acquisition System is trading the old world of compliance checklists for an urgent, risk-tolerant mandate focused purely on delivery speed. The whole incentive structure, the whole process, is being inverted.
It is. And if we bring this right back to the core change, it leaves us, and you the listener, with a really important final thought to consider, especially from an industry and investment perspective. The DOW is consciously replacing those lengthy paper-based studies, JCIDS, AoAs,